So today, on One Take, Tech Tip Tuesday, while it is filmed on Tuesday, Colt has never released it on Tuesday, we're going to talk a little bit about turbo manifolds. I have gotten to learn quite a lot lately about turbo manifolds because this is set number 5 that we're building for the Camaro. We've been going over and over and over doing different things, trying to find a little bit more power, a little bit less back pressure, a little bit less temperature. And I thought it would be pretty interesting for a lot of you to get a quick glimpse of things that are turbo manifold do's and don'ts. Number 1, do try to get the best flow out of the cylinder head you can. And whenever you're building a turbo manifold, please put your spark plugs and spark plug wires on, then build the manifolds. Way too many people think about that way too late. Build around being able to get plugs in and out. This car, there's times where we have to change plugs in it and we get like 10 minutes to do it. And if we make it next to impossible, that's going to suck really bad. Another thing that a lot of people don't do that you should always do on a turbo manifold, please back purge your turbo manifolds. What you want to try to get is a weld that's 100% penetrated and clean on both sides. That's going to really reduce the chances of this manifold cracking and coming apart when you're really pushing it and the temps are getting super high. Another thing that's pretty darn important, and I see a lot of people make a mistake on this, where the headers are welded to the flange here, you'll see there's no bead visible. There's a reason for that. If you put a weld bead on the outside of that flange, it's going to warp the flange. And it's not just going to warp it a little, it's going to warp it a lot. So the way that I've learned over the years to do it is to put the header all together when I'm building it, weld these tubes out first, completely welded, then fit them back in the flange, fit my collector on. Then I'll mark where those tubes are on the flange, and then I'll cut them about 1/8 of an inch longer than the mark on the outside, put the header back together, and then weld the inside. By welding the inside middle of those flanges, you're not putting the heat on one side of the flange, and it warps it significantly less and makes it where it's easier to make the thing seal. So that's a really little trick that goes a long way towards trying to keep your header flanges flat, because a lot of people try to tack their whole header together and then they get really excited to weld this first, then everything you do to this warps the flange. So you actually weld the flange last. That helps a bunch. So another thing that I've seen done kind of wonky a lot that makes a really big difference is wastegates. If you're doing a turbo manifold, you're going to have to put a wastegate in there somewhere. You really want to make sure that the flow path into the wastegate is just as good as the flow path into the turbo. Why is that? Because you want the wastegate to be able to alleviate as much pressure as possible to keep you from having runaway boost situations. Always, always, always make sure the flow path into the wastegate is really good. A lot of people think, oh, it's just pressure. Doesn't matter what angle this thing's at, it's going to bleed pressure no matter what. You know, it's kind of like saying if you have a pipe sticking sideways out of a pipe that's flowing water that's going to have just as much flow. It's not. It doesn't work that way. So really make sure you pay attention to your wastegates. And then another thing that we could talk about in the future, but maybe not this time, is some witchcraft that we got going on here. So maybe next week's Tech Tip Tuesday will be, what the heck is this? So tune in and find out. Thanks for watching again. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll keep trying to come up with new ideas.